Welcome to a brand new unit. We are starting this module off starting with Unit D, I call it. This is where we get involved in congruent triangles, proofs of congruent triangles. So we want to start off with the concept of how do you show that polygons can be congruent? Well, first of all, they have to be showing that the different parts of the polygons are actually congruent. So we want to look at angles, corresponding angles, and corresponding sides. That's what makes up these shapes. If you look at these two polygons, you can see that side AB and side EF would represent the same side. If these two shapes were the same shape, those would be the same sides, right? This one's flipped over, but it's not in the same orientation as the first one, but that would be corresponding with that one. Like angle B would correspond with angle F, and angle A would correspond with angle E. And so these are the corresponding angles, and these are the corresponding sides. And if the shapes are congruent, then their corresponding sides and corresponding angles are congruent. And so we can see, because of this information, the congruent polygons A, B, C, D would be congruent to E, F, G, H. Now I do notice that the colors match up because A goes with E, so we write them in the same order. So it goes A, B, C, D, and E goes with A, and F goes with B, and G goes with D, and H goes with C. So, I'm sorry, it's A, B, C, D, and E, F, G, H. That's the order that you want to write it in. So if you want to look at congruent figures, if two figures need to be congruent, then you want to show that all of the corresponding sides are also congruent and all of the corresponding angles are congruent. In the case of a triangle, you've got three sides and three angles. So you got to show that three corresponding angles are congruent and three corresponding sides are congruent. So 6 total things to show that triangles are congruent. If you're dealing with other shapes with more sides, you'd have more things to show. We're going to focus on triangles in this particular unit. And then I got a theorem to show you. It's called the third angles theorem, and it's pretty easy to understand. You know, in a triangle, the 3 angles add up to 180 degrees. But what if you know that two angles are congruent to 2 other angles? Then wouldn't it make sense to know that the third set of angles are also going to be congruent? So that's what this is saying. If 2 angles of one triangle are congruent to 2 angles of another triangle, then the third angles are also congruent. And that's called the third angles theorem, and we probably will be using that in a proof down the line. So there's our notes. Next, we're going to look at some examples. You can go to the SWIC. If you need to look at the examples, they should be in the part of the module where the SWICs are located.